Welcome back to another episode of With Love Mama, the podcast. I'm Tanika, but before we dive into today's episode, I just want to say a huge thank you for being here. This podcast was created to feel like a safe space where women can exhale, feel seen, feel informed, and feel a little less alone in whatever season they're moving through. So if the conversations that we've had have supported you in any way, one of the most beautiful ways that you can support the show is by subscribing, leaving a rating, or sharing an episode with another woman who needs to hear it too. It genuinely helps our podcast to grow and reach more women navigating preconception, pregnancy, birth, postpartum, and beyond. So let's get into today's episode. Welcome to another episode of With Love Mama, the podcast. Today we have Jemma joining us to share her incredible story. How are you going?
Yeah, I'm going really good. Thank you.
I'm really excited to get into this because you had early, like pre-rupture of membrane at 36 weeks, was it?
It was actually 34 plus 6, and it was, yeah, premature. It's
Yeah,
PPROM,
it's like,
premature, premature preterm rupture of membranes.
there we go. She got it.
I always forget what the second P stands for, but yes. So it was, yeah, preterm baby and early rupture of my waters.
Yeah. So take me back to that moment when your waters did actually break early. Like, what did you feel in that moment?
Yeah, it was actually super interesting because I'd had a very normal pregnancy, like that this was my second pregnancy. So I had been really busy. I was working, I was still at work full time. Um, and it was late at night. As I said, I was 34 plus 6. I just had a baby sprinkle that weekend before. And that night I laid down into bed and I just felt like my waters had broken. It was the exact same feeling I felt with my son. It wasn't a gush, but it was definitely more than wetting yourself.
Yeah.
And I said to my husband, I think my waters just broke. And he said, no way, like it's way too early. And I sort of wanted to gaslight myself into thinking it wasn't, but I really knew at that point that it was my waters. So I text my midwife. I was in the MGP program and I'd been in that program for both births, and I actually had the same midwife. So I text her and I said, like, I think my waters are broken. Like I'm feeling a bit stressed because I'm not even 35 weeks. And she said, you should go in and get checked, but it might not be. Like, don't
Yeah.
stress, it's okay. And at that moment, I'm thinking, I guess, like a little bit of, like to preface this, I was going to have a home birth, a public home
Hmm.
birth. So in that moment, I'm thinking, oh my God, like, I'm not getting a home. I'm not even
Yeah.
considering at the moment that I'm having a preterm baby. I'm literally thinking, like, all of my plans for birth have just gone out the window.
I think that's such a great point, though, of like, as the birthing woman, we prepare so much for the birth that we're going to have. And when we really imagine, picture, desire a certain experience, that actually is so normal for that to be the first thing you're going to.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
really romanticized this home birth because I had a really beautiful birth with my son. It was a water birth, it was in hospital, but it was just beautiful. And then I had been approved for a public home birth, and I was like, this is the most amazing thing ever. Like, I'm gonna have this beautiful birth. My toddler's gonna be involved, like, it's gonna be in our own space. And then obviously I hadn't confirmed my waters were broken, but in that moment, that's what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking, firstly, I'm not going to get a water birth because I'm preterm and I'm going to hospital. And secondly, I'm not getting my home birth.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I guess that's the feelings that I'm thinking. And then I'm thinking, like, oh, I'm gonna have a preemie baby. Like, well, I don't really know anyone that's had a preemie baby. This is like pre me even realizing my waters have definitely broken.
Yeah. Once you got into the hospital and it was confirmed your waters were broken, did you feel
Yeah.
like there was quite a lot of pressure then for like intervention? And what sort of decisions were
Oh,
you actually faced with in that first 48-hour period?
yeah, so I got into hospital. They confirmed it was amniotic fluid. They said to me, what we want to do now is put you on IV antibiotics previously. And like my mindset around precautionary antibiotics personally is that I've never wanted them. I never wanted, like, I wouldn't have got them if I was GBS positive and having a normal birth. So I was a bit reluctant, but I did accept them. And my reason being is because at this point, I'm thinking, I want to do anything I can to keep this baby inside of
Yeah.
me. My membranes have ruptured. Um, I don't want an infection to happen because I don't want to be induced. I was really fearful of that. So I went on precautionary IV antibiotics for 48 hours. So I remained in hospital from when my waters broke at that point, and they tested me for GBS to see whether I was GBS positive. Maybe that's the reason my waters broke. Maybe it was just like a freak accident. Maybe my baby scratched me. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Um, I stayed in hospital for 3 days. I didn't feel like the pressure at that point was too much from the hospital and like the system, because they were kind of exploring. I knew in my mind what I would be happy with, and they did keep on saying, if you're GBS positive, we will want to look at induction. And I was thinking, hell no. Like, I'm 35 weeks, like my body is not ready to give birth. There were no signs of labor at that point. And I had my midwife from the MGP program like totally advocating for me.
That's great.
Um, yeah, and so then my GBS swab was taking ages to come back, and I'm just sitting in hospital. I'm fully fine at this point. Like, my waters are just leaking out of me, which I had a scan. My amniotic fluid was fine. I had no idea about this before. And like, I guess for anyone listening, I didn't know that when you're hydrating, like drinking water, your baby is just like urinating that out and kind of like your amniotic fluid. So mine was fine. Like, yes, I was leaking it, but I wasn't losing any. She was still growing. Like, I could just
That's
remain with
so
leaking waters.
That's actually really great that you brought that point up, because I think as well it can be quite a huge like story that people hear in hospitals. Oh, we've got like low amniotic fluid, we need to be in emergency Caesar or induction right away. Whereas if you're actually just keeping yourself hydrated, it's prolonging that pregnancy, reducing like, getting closer to term, even though it's like quite a while away. It's like,
Yeah.
reducing that risk of, in your case, not wanting to be induced, like
Yeah,
quite
I was so
massively.
surprised and happy, because I was like, oh, and honestly, like, because I had such a beautiful first pregnancy, I was a bit like delusional. I honestly thought at that point, like, my baby's going to stay until 37 weeks. Like, and I think that probably helped me. And I think I knew at that point that my birth had kind of been taken away, like my dream birth. But I was also very conscious. I'm in a system that often does push women to do things. Like, I still want to have a beautiful birth, whatever that looks like. Um, I ended up discharging myself from hospital with like my midwife supporting me. She said, you should just go home after 3 nights. Like, she said, what are you waiting for? You're waiting for a GBS swab to come back. Even if it's positive, you're not going to say to them right then and there, like, yep, induce me now. So what's the point? Like, you're healthy, you're well. So I went home. This was the Thursday, so it had been 3 nights in hospital. I went home. I'm like 35 and 3, I think, at this point. I go home the next day, Friday. I'm feeling so achy. And I said to my husband, I think I'm going to go into labor tonight. And he said, oh my God, I've got to finish putting on the fascia and the gutter on our house. Like, we're renovating. And like, dead set, like, he goes out and puts on the fascia and the gutter on our house while I'm like doing my eyebrows and like blow drying my hair, because I'm like, oh, like, am I? Like, I don't know. I had a very quick labor with my son. So I was thinking, like, oh, maybe I'll get this like romantic first stage of labor where I'm just like chilling out. Um, and my mum was down, like, she lives 4 hours away. So thankfully she was able to stay and like look after my toddler. And by that night, maybe I guess like 6 or 7 p.m., I'm really feeling achy, and I'm thinking, yeah, I'm definitely in labor. I'm in the
Mm.
early stages of labor. I'm 35 and 4 at this point. And before I'd gone home, I had a discussion with my midwife to say, she knows what kind of birth I wanted. I wanted a physiological birth if I could. I want unmedicated. I did want water, but obviously only the shower is an option, because
Yeah.
my waters are broken and I'm having a preemie baby,
Yeah.
and I'm in a hospital. So I knew, and she said to me, look, like, I think that if you're comfortable, you should do everything you did last time. Stay home as long as possible. Don't come in, labor at home in your own space, which I did with my son, because, like, I was fearful of things being pushed on me if I went in early with a preemie baby.
Of course.
Um, and I didn't know what this birth was going to progress like. I know my body, and I think I had a lot of trust in it.
Even just like you said, I'm having a preemie baby, I'm not even sure what's going on, and just discharging yourself. I know you had guidance with your midwife, but that's like really empowering for women listening to know that like you can still, in a lot of circumstances, redirect the path that your birth is taking, even if things are taken out of your control.
Yeah, I think that's like it's a really great point because I think going into birth, some people are funny about birth plans and having this vivid image of your birth, but I think what that does for you is it kind of gives you the parameters of what you're willing to accept and what you're not.
Yeah.
And so when things do go off track, like what's happened with mine, I still knew the things that I would be sort of happy to consider, or the things that I'm thinking, no, I'm really, me and my husband are going to say, nah, not happy with that.
Hmm.
Um, and at the end of the day, like you can say no to anything. It's
Yeah.
your, like, yes, we're in a system that is often really unsupportive towards women's choices and they have protocols, but you can still say no. It's your birth.
Did you feel your autonomy was being challenged at any point of your labor and delivery once you actually did go into labor?
Yeah, I think so. Once I labored at home and then we went into the hospital. At this time it's like 5:30 a.m. I think when I got into hospital. So I'd kind of just been like early stages and then it got to a point where I just couldn't sleep
Yeah.
through anymore. Got in. I think this was probably the only point, and it might be because of the advocacy of my midwife that she buffered a lot of stuff that was happening because she knew that I was like, this is what I'm doing.
Mhm.
When I got in, I was met with an obstetrician and she wanted to put in a cannula. I think she wanted to give me antibiotics again. And I said, no way. My arms were butchered from the cannula that I had like earlier in the week. Honestly, that was probably the worst part of my birthing experience. And it wasn't even part of my birth. It was a cannula from like the antibiotic. It was so painful, honestly. Like, it was horrific. And they put it in here.
Yeah.
So they like butchered my hand.
Oh my gosh. And
It
then
was,
when you like move into like postpartum and you're like trying to hold a baby, plus you have a toddler, you're like, this is
yeah.
actually way worse than my recovery, guys.
Actually, so I said, I got in there and she said, oh, I want to do a cannula for IV antibiotics again and in case you hemorrhage. And I said, no, no way. I said, I have no history of hemorrhaging. I said, it was really painful. I'm happy to discuss antibiotics if we show any signs of infection. I'm not happy to have, I'm like in active labor. Like I
Yeah.
know at this point, like it's my second birth. I'm in active labor. Like they're not probably not even going to touch the baby.
Mm.
Um, so that was probably, and like she did go on for a long time and then she started telling me about the risks and I'm like actively in labor. So I'm like, get out of my face.
Yeah, definitely not
That's
in
how
a
I'm doing.
space to be like, you're not in your logical mind and you are already like, I don't
No,
consent. Can you just leave me be? But I think that's
no.
also shows your strength again. Like you said, they have their protocols, they have to offer things, but they should
Yeah.
really accept when you are not consenting, really, first off the bat, that that's your answer. But sometimes, unfortunately, gets pushed a little more,
Yeah.
but it doesn't always mean that they are right because
Yeah,
you
and
know
I'm
your
really
body.
snappy in labor. Like I'm not like aggressive, but I'm very short. I'm like, oh, like I'm like actively pushing out this baby. Like I literally don't care. I was like, if I'm hemorrhaging, put it in when I'm hemorrhaging.
Yeah.
And like someone else after has like tried to logically explain to me. And I'm like, I literally don't care. I would still make that decision knowing that your veins might be I don't care.
Yeah.
It was painful and I felt like it was going to impact my movement in birth, having a cannula. Like I wanted to be free to just like move around. So that was probably one of the times that I felt that they were trying to push something onto me. I labored, I had a land birth, like I was on the bed and I was like, I still felt like I had no pain relief options because my TENS machine hadn't arrived. I had gone too early
Of
for that
course.
to come and I couldn't get in the water and I didn't want to get in the shower because I was like, I couldn't fathom getting out and being wet. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know, in my head, it was like a mental block.
Like you couldn't get
Um,
into like a body of water afterwards. So it was just like the discomfort of just being wet, but then birthing on land.
yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
no thanks. And I still had a pretty quick labor. So like my baby was delivered at 7:30, but prior to that they had tried to put on the monitoring. I was like, I did have on my birth plan that I didn't really want monitoring, but she is preemie. So in my mind, I still have a little bit of I'm aware that I don't know what this birth looks like, and I am somewhat still conscious and I guess like a bit nervous and scared. I don't
Yeah.
know what a preemie baby, like I don't know what to expect. I don't know if I'm gonna have my baby taken off me. They monitored for a bit, but they couldn't get her heart rate because I'm pushing. She's in my pelvis, then she's back out. Like they can't get a reading. And they said to me, it was just my midwife in the room for the whole time until my body went into actively pushing for me. Then the midwife in charge came in and he was amazing. He was an absolute gem. And he said to me, would you be open to a fetal scalp clip? And I said, no way, no way. Like on my birth plan, it says absolutely not. And then he said, okay, like That's fine, it's your choice. And then I said, well, can you explain to me why you want to do that and what, like, and he sat next to me and he said, this is why we want to do it. It's just because she's preemie. We don't know whether she's distressed. We don't know what her breathing's going to look like when she comes out. And I said, what is the risk? And he said to me, these are the risks. I mean, I don't want to scare anyone because I had this as an absolute no. And he said, like, can scratch them, it can end up in infection, there's a few things that he went through. And he said, that's never happened for me, but these are the things, totally your choice. You don't have to do it. Birth will progress like normal. And I ended up saying, okay, I'm happy for you to do that
Mhm.
because I felt like, and he also showed me, I thought it was a screw. I don't know why I thought that. Like, I honestly thought that it was like, I'm picturing like a house screw
Yeah, yeah.
into the baby's head. And whilst I would never, I don't think I'd ever get it. Well, I wouldn't get it if my birth was going normal. I'm somewhat still fearful at this stage
Of
of how
course.
birth is going to progress. And it was only on for about 5 to 10 minutes because then she crowned and her head got, like, as she's coming out, they pull it off
Yep.
before her head was even out.
And I think it's a
Um,
beautiful blend of you trusting in your body's ability, but also allowing it to be okay. You had some fear.
Yeah, yeah. I'm laboring on my side at this time. I'm really exhausted. I romanticized a night birth. I had my son in the day and I was like, night births are gonna be so romantic. I was exhausted. Like, oh my God, I was so tired. I thought this is actually the worst. Because it's 7:15 or something a.m. She comes out, her head pops out. And so I still haven't had anything else pushed on me, just the fetal scalp clip, which I wouldn't say that's pushed on me. I felt very like that was my decision to make.
Yep.
Um, Never mentioned any pain medication because I think I'd made it very clear. My midwife knew, like, I didn't want to be suggested anything. Like, maybe if I got to a point where I was struggling. Anyway, my daughter's head pops out. This happened with both of my babies and it was really unexpected for me. Like, the heads were just hanging there for 3 minutes. Like, I didn't have another contraction for 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, I thought that the whole thing would just like slide on out, but no.
And it's
Um,
crazy, hey, because like every experience is different, but you kind of before, if you go into birth and you don't actually completely understand, like that is so normal.
Not like painful because you've already gone, well, yeah, you've already gone through the crown. Like, you're just kind of
Yeah.
there. I was thankful for a break
Yeah,
at
it's
that
like that
point.
though, because you really are just like, okay, like they're here, it's all good. My body's just not ready completely to like eject them out just yet.
Yeah. With my son, he was underwater and it was fine.
Mm.
Everything's normal. But with my daughter, because her head was hanging out, they waited for about 3 or 4 minutes and then they said, do you want to try and give a push? So, because obviously at this point she hasn't taken a breath or anything, they're not sure what's happening. And I didn't actually realize this, but a pediatrician had come in and kind of like snuck in and was just waiting. I think that that's protocol, don't know everywhere, but for my hospital anyway, for a preemie birth.
Mhm.
Um, she was just like standing towards the back. They said, do you want to try and give a push? We just want to try and get her body out. Everything's all good. And so I did. Her body came out and they just like put her straight onto my chest. The pediatrician came over and was like vigorously rubbing her back, but like so great. My experience with obstetricians versus pediatricians has been very different. Like, she was so like, it's fine. We wanted to take a cry. Everything's all good. She's not being removed from you. Like, your baby's healthy. And I was like, oh my God.
Once you'd processed like you weren't getting a home birth and everything, and you realized like you're having a preemie baby, were you kind of going into that those first moments like with different expectations?
Yeah, I think uncertainty. Like, I didn't actually have any expectations because I didn't know what, but a lot of uncertainty. Like, I think deep down, I expected that she would be removed from me. I expected that my breastfeeding journey would be very different. Like, I fed my son for just under 2 years, and I was thinking, like, that was, I guess, another thing that I thought, oh, am I going to lose that experience as well?
Mm.
Um, that's really important to me. So, just like unknown. And I think that that's hard because in birth, you kind of need to be really open to the fact that like, there is kind of this path that your body's going to take. It's going to know you've got to really like surrender to your body. And I think when there's unknown, and I was acutely aware of this too, I'm thinking, oh, I just like don't want to have any blocks, like mental blocks. But yeah, then I had her, she was actually 6 pounds. So not like, I'm only 35 and 4 days. Like, it's not really a teeny tiny baby. That's
No, quite a
2.7
healthy baby.
kilos. But yeah.
Yeah. For like the
So
gestation.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and she did a little breast crawl and she actually latched okay. And I didn't have to have her taken away. There was no special care. I did have to stay in hospital. I also birthed my placenta naturally about 5 minutes later. So I think
Wow.
I just feel like my body knew what to do. And like she was, yeah, there
I,
was nothing else. Like I stayed in hospital for 3 nights, but that was just like to manage jaundice and weight to make sure
yeah.
she was gaining weight and feeding.
I'd love to
Um,
know, like, having a crawl with a preemie baby is just so special. Like, how did that feel to you after
yeah,
everything? Like, you had a whole, like, really week of uncertainty and then the labor of, like, uncertainty. You really didn't know where it was going to go. And then you still got that beautiful crawl.
I know it felt amazing because I actually didn't even get that with my son. Like he fed fine, but
Mm.
he didn't do the breastfeed. It wasn't like everything that you read about that's that beautiful. Yeah, it was so different, and I just felt so. I don't know, like it was just a crazy experience to go through all of that uncertainty, have a preemie baby, and then everything end up really fine and like
Yeah.
feel really supported. I obviously grieve the birth that I didn't get. I still like
Yep.
she's just 8 months old as of last week, and I still have a lot of like, oh, I didn't get that home birth, but I felt like the birth was really empowering and in different ways. And I think yeah, I don't know. Like, I guess there's so much power in telling these stories because when I listen to birth podcasts, I would hear things like, oh, this person had this type of birth, and then I would research it.
Hmm.
And so, like, hopefully, someone who goes through this also can know, like, it can end up really beautiful. I
Yeah.
don't know, like it just, yeah, now it's just something that feels like my birth took a different turn that was also equally as empowering because there was a lot of advocacy and, I still feel really proud of the birth that we had. And maybe
Definitely.
one day I'll get a home birth, who knows?
Yeah. And for the woman that's listening who has just been, told her birth just isn't going to go to plan, maybe due to pre-rupture of membranes or early induction or anything that's, having to happen to her, what would you want her to know about her power in the birthing space?
Just that no matter what the path is, like your birth can still be yours. It's still yours and your baby's. You have the right to say no to other things. You have the right to say no to anything. Um, and you and your partner are your biggest advocates. Like it's still your story at the end of the day to make, yeah.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. And like, I feel like your entire story is just so empowering, whether like someone has a, oh my gosh, preemie baby or doesn't. It's just like that whole, it doesn't always go like to the plan that we desire, but it's always divine plan. Like look at how you managed to move your way through that whole experience, and it's probably shown you so much more of your power than a home birth could have, right?
Yeah, yeah. And something that I was thinking during my birth was like, I think I had the luxury, I don't know if it's luxury, but have going through childbirth before. So I was
Yeah.
so trusting that my body knew what to do and I knew the stages of labor. And I really felt like, yeah, like I was going to be able to come through this.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
That's a great point too, because especially if it was your first time, it would be so different, right? Because your
so
first time,
different.
you just, even if you're so informed, so confident, just have all of it, every path it can take, it's still your first time.
Yeah, you don't know, like, you don't know exactly the feelings. You don't know, you also don't know what's on the other side. Like,
Yeah.
was thinking, like, I know how close that euphoric feeling is of like you've just given birth. And like, I know that's so close. Like, I can do this. Like, I can push through this for another however long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing your entire, like all of your story. It was really great to have you on the podcast. And yeah, that was just so empowering, even just for me listening and knowing that like there are experiences out there where you can have a preemie baby and still have such a beautiful birth and a physiological birth as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank
So
you.
thank you so much.